Part 2, The Great Flood, Sentence 5. Mox illa flumina qua Jupiter convocaverat, aquas trans agros et per vias urbium educebant, et aquae maris quoque a Neptuno super terram mittebantur. In this sentence, I noticed a number of verbs, and I also noticed an opportunity to translate a relative clause and the passive voice. Let's first of all focus on the verbs. The first verb in this sentence is convocaverat. Convocaverat is from the verb convoco, convocare, convocavi, convocatum. Notice that the V indicates we are using it from the base of the third principal part. The erat ending tells us that this verb is in the pluperfect tense. It also tells me that the subject is singular because it ends with the letter T. The second verb that I noticed is educabant. From educo, educere, eduxi, eductum. There is no X in this verb form that I'm looking at, which means to me that this verb is built on the base of the second principal part. I know it's not the fourth principal part either, because there is no T. If it were going to be the third principal part, fourth principal part, I would see the letter T after the C, but I don't. So this tells me it's built on the base of the second principal part and must be in either the present, the imperfect, or the future tense. When I look after the connecting vowel E, I see the ending bont. The BA indicates to me that we are in the imperfect tense, and the NT says that my subject is plural. The next verb in this sentence is mittebantur. Mittebantur is from the verb mitto, mittere, misi, misum. Because this verb has two T's in it, I know that it is built on the base of the second principal part. When I look after the connecting vowel E, I see the letters BA, which indicate to me the presence of the imperfect tense. The enter tells me that this verb is passive. And because it's NTUR, my subject is plural. Now, what do I do with all of these verbs, and how do I divide this sentence into three different parts? In order to know how to divide this sentence into its three different parts, we have to first of all recognize that there is a relative clause in this sentence. Do you notice the relative pronoun quae in the sentence? Quae, a relative pronoun, always begins a relative clause. We say that that relative clause ends after the first verb, but I notice that after convocaverat, I don't have an et. The et goes all the way to here. Is all the way here after several other things. Whenever we have a relative pronoun, that's where the relative clause begins. And we have learned that the relative clause ends after the first verb. So the first verb in our sentence is not part of the main idea, but part of the relative clause. What is the relative clause connected to? The only noun that comes in front of it is flumina. Therefore, quae refers to flumina. Quae could be the subject of conver caverat. However, when quae refers to flumina, which is a neuter plural noun, we know that quae must also be plural. And convo caverat is not plural, it's singular. Besides, Jupiter is in the subject form. So Jupiter had called together. What had Jupiter called together? The quae, the flumina. Flumina are rivers, so I would translate quae as which, and the entire relative clause I would translate as which Jupiter had called together. Remember, it's describing flumina and must be used immediately after your word rivers in your translation. Mox illa flumina is the beginning of the main idea in this sentence. Where does that main idea end? Well, its first ending point is at educabant. I know it ends there because immediately after that I see the word et, which indicates to me a conjunction. So aquae maris is also used as the beginning of the third idea or third clause, which uses mittebantur as its verb. Let's look at the first clause. Mox illa flumina aquas trans agros et per vias urbium educabant. Flumina is serving as the subject of the verb educabant. I know this is true because when I look at the other nouns, aquas, agros, vias, they are all in the accusative case, and urbium from urbs urbis is in the genitive plural. So the only noun that can be the subject of educabant is flumina. So as soon as we translate mox illa flumina, we're going to describe it with the relative clause qua Jupiter convo caverat, and then jump to the verb educabant. What did those rivers do? They educabant aquas trans agros et per vias urbium. That's what they did. And then I go to my final verb, mittebantur, and I want to look at it before we talk about how we know how to put the rest of the sentence together. Mittebantur, as we said before, is in the third person plural and the passive voice. When I look at the nouns in my sentence, I have aquae, maris, Neptuno, and terram. Maris from mara mara is in the genitive case. It's going to be connected to the noun that comes in front of it. I know that because there is no noun that comes after it. The word that comes after maris is also a conjunction, and therefore it is not going to be used with the conjunction. Instead, it will be used with the noun that comes in front of it. Neptune is in the ablative case after the preposition a, so this is a prepositional phrase. Terram is in the accusative case after the preposition super. Now, because my verb is in the passive voice, I should pay attention to see if there is an ablative of agent, a biphrase, in this clause. Remember that a biphrase starts with the preposition a or ob and must be followed by the name of a person or a god, or a noun referring to a person or a god, like Neptune. So a Neptuno is actually an ablative of agent. This means that when I translate the word a, I must translate it as by. The only noun that I haven't looked at in this sentence is aquae. Aquae is from aqua aquae. Obviously it's in the genitive singular case, but don't forget that it could also be dative singular and even nominative plural. I'm looking for something nominative plural. Therefore, aquae is the subject of mitebantur, the waters of the sea, mitebantur. Now remember, the waters of the sea did not do this action. This action was done to them. They were sent. By whom? A Neptuno. Where? Super terram. So sentence 4 is long. Let's look again at how it's constructed from the beginning. We start with mox illa flumina, and then describe flumina with the relative clause qua Jupiter conver caverat. Then we need to go on to tell what the flumina did. They educabant the aquas trans agros et per vias urbium. And the aquae maris quoque mitebantur, remember that's were sent or were being sent. By whom? A Neptuno. Where? Super terram. That is sentence 5.